Cyberpunk Edgerunners is fantastic. The plot is amazing, the action is enticing, and the animation is by Studio Trigger. What more can I say? And although I still reserve some judgment for character designs, like you can tell whoever designed David probably has never seen a Dominican in real life, ever. Like they just slapped Martinez on the name and said, eso Dominicano.
2 hours later.
But with that being said, Edgerunners to me is still anime of the year and possibly Trigger's best anime ever. The critiques I have with the show are very minimal and don't stand to its positives at all. Yet still, when I was done with it, I wish I never watched this show. And the reason for that has nothing to do with David's design, animation, storytelling, or narrative. In fact, it has everything to do with how well Trigger combined all those things to suit one purpose: to break you. Edgerunners is meant to break you. That's right, instead of giving us another against all odds space spectacle that's inspiring and motivating, Trigger decided to ground us. Not only bring us back down to Earth, but taking us into Earth's core, burning and scorching us in every way possible. Edgerunners isn't a love letter to anime fans, it's a fuck you. Think about it. It uses our knowledge about basic anime and cinema tropes to hurt us. It basically puts the knife in us and twists it every chance it gets, starting with its first death. But before we get there, we have to start off with the character that dies, Pilar. See, now, in any other anime, Pilar would be that one side character that you couldn't stand at first, but you would eventually grow to like what Ed was to a lot of Bebop fans, or what Sanji is to me. He's that character that would be shoved down your throat, and eventually and willingly you would concede. And even around 3 episodes, he was quickly becoming that character for me. But then that was my main mistake. See, to make Pilar's death hurt a lot, the writers at Edgerunners don't just break one rule by killing a main character in the first couple of episodes. No, they break 3 tropes. 1 being what I stated before, and 2 being when he dies. See, now this isn't really just an anime trope, it's a basic TV and entertainment trope. The group shot, or what I like to call the La Familia shot. This is the moment where you get the shot of the badass group, where you get to feel the familial bond between them. This is the Avengers circle pan, or whatever they did in Guardians of the Galaxy. This is the moment where you finally start realizing that they're all important, not just to the group, but each other, that they all bring something different and they're all needed. That this isn't just a team anymore, but something special. When you get this moment, it typically is at an end of a compilation, like this one was in Edgerunners. But usually, after this moment, you get a small intermission of nothingness, or really just unimportant, cool action, like them fighting grunts and other lower level antagonists. And that's what this scene feels like at first. It doesn't feel like a real scene, but more like a buffer scene. Like it's a scene that comes before or after some exposition or some real important plot progression. A scene that adds vibes, comedy, or world building, but in the grand scheme of things is highly unimportant. Don't get me wrong though, buffer scenes are highly important. And that's because it's a scene that helps successfully pace out the story so the audience can get a breather or sit back and enjoy what they're seeing. And even as just a buffer scene, this scene does incredibly well. Not only is it adding some comedy, but through comedy, it's building up the world. By having the gang's Hollywood moment ruined by a homeless man pissing, Edgerunner shows us how truly depraved Night City is. How depraved is it? Well, it's so depraved that you can't even have your badass walk scene without being interrupted by some urine. Gross. Which means the scene did exactly what it's meant to do, which is perfect, right? I mean, it accomplished its mission, so where's the transition? Where's the fadeaway? Where's the cutaway to Arasaka and the Corporals? Where's the next assignment by Faraday? When are we gonna get to the explosion hinted to at the beginning of the episode? Why are we still here? The show isn't funny anymore. What the fuck is that? These are all thoughts that poured into my head only seconds before.
This new meaning is a phrase, hard as iron.
And to make it hurt more, they show it not once, but 3 times. 3 times. And bam, just like that, we're in the next action scene and Pilar's dead. What Trigger did here is a masterclass in deception and efficiency. They strategically placed this scene after compilation where we most expect buffer scenes, and to lure us further, they disguise it under the pretense of comedial world building. A pretense we believe not only because of the placement of the scene, but because of the subjects within it. Who thinks a main character is gonna die to a literal bum? A literal bum, especially in the first couple of episodes. But while the scene plays out and you listen to the characters, you quickly realize that this isn't just world building, but our introduction to what really is the main antagonist of the show, cyberpsychosis. And man, what an introduction it is. It not only shows us all the aspects of his cracked out traits, but through its impact, it tells us that this isn't the typical anime drawback, that this actually has consequences. And to be honest, it needed this. We needed this. Without it, we could never take it seriously. In fact, before this, I never took it seriously, even after the crew's constant warnings about it, after the VR game, or the news broadcast in the background saying it was responsible for killing 30 people. And that's because anime consequences aren't really consequences. They never cause things to happen. They only explain why things can't and won't happen. They're more of a safeguard and explanation than they are actual effects themselves. They're treated like hurdles for the protagonist to get over, and if we're being honest, they cease to matter halfway into a plot. But cyberpsychosis isn't like that, and through the jump, it forces you to realize that. But narratively speaking, they made Pilar die for nothing, which is horrible but amazing. It only adds to the cynical element of the show and the deep depravity of Night City, showing us that what happened to David's mom wasn't a one-off. That was just Night City. What's funny though is that technically speaking, Pilar has the most important death in the show, setting up the main antagonist and preluding David's and Main's downfall. It's like Trigger's playing hot potato with us. I mean, this is great writing, but if we're being honest, this is just sad and straight up diabolical. Like, what is wrong with these people? Why is a whole studio dedicated to causing us pain? Like, are we sure this is the same company that was found out the back of Gurren Lagann? Are we sure this is the same Trigger? Huh. I guess they decided to go back to their early Gainax roots. But, damn. And it doesn't even stop here. In fact, it took me the whole 10 episodes to realize that the whole time I was the butt of the joke, that they were deceiving me from the beginning, that as soon as David was introduced as the protagonist, they already had me in their genjutsu, and their Tsukiyomi giving me 5,000 years of pain in 300 minutes. What I'm saying is that from the beginning, I had already slipped into David's mind and into David's thinking, that I, before him, already believed he was special, not because the Sandevistan or anything else, but because he's the anime protagonist, and we all know the stereotypes that come with that. We all know that the protagonist gets special rights, or at least think we do. And Trigger feeds into this with words like special in these moments from David.
It's like I feel better in metal than in my own skin.
Well, your affinity for cyberware is fucking nuts. I'll grant you that.
Believe yourself to be special?
Must just be special, I guess.
Ha! Makes you Adam Smasher 2.0, Joe.
Dunno. Tough to say. It just feels right. Like it's always been a part of me. I'm built different.
There's a reason why they didn't just tell us David has a high tolerance, and instead gave us these moments in phrases, because they know the context words like special have in our brains with anime protagonists, how we expect them to be treated. We expect these dudes to have special rights, we expect them to be overpowered and overcome every challenge, and at the end we expect them to accomplish their goals and maybe change the world, and that even when bad things happen, they would only serve to learn and gain from it. And although David following down the path of Main low-key hinted to me that this wasn't the case for him, I only fully realized that I was being deceived, that I was in a genjutsu
Release!
when it was too late. Whilst the credits roll, I slowly began to realize that I had been got, that David, against all odds, truly wasn't special, or not as special as he was supposed to be, that he didn't even get protagonist rights. Fuck. Shit, we have to talk about that ending. But before that, we have to discuss how David's fight against Adam Smasher would typically go down in anime. So as a guideline, we'll be using Luffy's and Kaido's fight from One Piece. Both of these fights share a glaring amount of similarities. David and Luffy are basically in the same position here, fighting a major infamous baddie at the latter parts of the show where they themselves are already well known and established as strong. Which is why at the beginning it makes sense that these two fights are overwhelmingly similar. Both fights open up with antagonists admitting that they've heard special things about the protagonist.
You're packing some pretty heavy artillery for your size, boy. I'm surprised you could string two words together.
Putting their opponent in a high light while secretly wishing they give them a great fight. Yet when the fight starts, the antagonist absolutely mollywops the hero.
Who are you to challenge me?
And at the end, with high disappointment, the villains basically call them overhyped. This exact pattern happens a lot in anime, because what it does is essentially pull the rug from under the protagonist whilst making the antagonist seem very menacing by comparison. But this is never the end of this trope. See, the point of this trope is not to just bring down the protagonist, no, it's to give them an obstacle. Give them a ladder to climb so they can overcome and rise as high as ever. So they can show us, the audience, and the characters within the show that truly they are special. That they are the chosen ones. That they will accomplish everything they set out to do. And believe it or not, this isn't just a shonen thing. It's a basic action anime thing actually. In fact, one day before making this vid, I finally got to the part of Berserk where Guts finally gets the Berserk armor. And this is exactly what happens. The antagonist says, hold up. This doesn't exist, okay? Partner? The antagonist says he's heard of his name before, hypes him up himself, bigging up his name, and then he fights him and...
I knew it. You're nothing but a lightweight loser.
absolutely beats his ass, calls him a disappointment, then Guts goes inside a cave, gets the fucking Berserker armor, and is ready for the second round where he fucking mollywops him. And narratively speaking, it makes sense. To cause tension, you bring the protagonist down and later on, you reaffirm them. But did you see how Edgerunners stopped fitting that description halfway through? While One Piece, if you've caught up, fits that description perfectly. It's because Edgerunners never reaffirms its protagonist. In fact, it ends halfway through to show us that this dude ain't shit, that this dude isn't special at all. It ends halfway through because Adam Smasher was right.
You think you're special because you're scrappy? Don't make me laugh.
This is David's tragic flaw. The whole time he thought he was a protagonist when the real protagonist was V, not him at all. All he had was high endurance and he let that get to his head, just like we let him being the protagonist get into our head. Not to mention, the dude was basically bloodlusted, he had no cognitive function but to murder, yet he still failed. And as if to rub into our face more that David ain't shit. From what I've heard and seen in Cyberpunk 2077, Adam Smasher is the easiest boss. Like, he's extremely underwhelming. Like, people let the fight purposely go on for longer so they can take pictures and make it harder for themselves. The dude's not menacing at all. Yet this is the guy that David lost to. Man, that's sad. And although in one part of my heart, I'm glad that they sticked with the cyberpunk motif, and this will probably comfort me whilst watching it again, but for now, all it did is just cause pain. Like, oh my god, y'all did this on purpose, man. Like, y'all knew the subtext that comes with the word anime protagonist and special. Like, yo, what? Oh my god, y'all are psychopaths. Y'all are psychopaths. Like, I'm there at the ending scene, I'm like, no way. And we're not even gonna talk about Rebecca's death. We're just gonna ignore that. First of all, a character doesn't die like that. A fan favorite does not die like that. They're not supposed to die when saying,
We're having a moment here!
what? Oh, not when making a joke. What the hell? Oh, not so close to the end. I was like, we finally gonna make it out, Rebecca. We there. You good, girl. You good. And then, bam, Adam Smasher's heavy ass. Let's crush my girl. Oh my god. I hate this show. I'm done. Bye, guys. Please like and subscribe, comment. Fuck Edge Runners. I don't care. Bye.